A bitter wind cut through Max's sweatshirt and loose-fitting, lightweight trousers, reminding her that winter was on the way. She should have put an outdoor coat on, but it hadn't seemed worth the effort of struggling to get a narrow sleeve over the finger-to-elbow cast that held her dominant hand and wrist immobile. She hadn't intended to be out in the garden for this long, and hadn't even bothered with socks, shoving her feet into unlaced calf-length boots. The small altar in her garden now gleamed, thanks to her little bit of outdoor work. The leaves that had covered the shallow metal dish had been removed, and the old clouded water replaced, so that the beaten surface of the vessel shone in the morning light. Even though she was cold from her uncovered head to her toes, it still felt good to be outdoors, with fresh air against her face. She paused for a moment, staring down at the altar, and feeling some calm seep into her. The altar was simple, nothing more than the metal dish sitting on top of an old wooden stool. The local birds liked to use it as a bath from time to time. Max was reasonably certain that the lady wouldn't mind. The lady was supposed to love all creatures, no matter how small or humble. Max had never been quite sure about the extent of the lady's affection, but she could use some of her peace just now. She turned back to the house, bootlaces flapping as she walked. A pair of giant dogs ran past her as she headed for the kitchen door, caught up in some game that only they knew the rules to. Max smiled, watching her shadow hounds play. Cass and Poll were in their everyday forms, short coats gleaming in the weak sunlight. They seemed to be taking it in turns to chase each other, making a full circuit around the house before Max had reached the door. As she pushed the door open, the dogs barked. She stopped at once, turning to look for them. The barks had been sharp, calling for her attention. Something had interrupted their play. They were all business as they ran back around the corner of the house, attention going along the drive, past her battered pickup, and to the road. It didn't take long to spot what had alerted her dogs. A small convoy of vehicles pulled to a stop outside her gates. 3 cars, sleek and dark and bristling with magic. She stayed where she was, dismay turning her stomach. She recognized that magic, and its presence here was not a good thing. A twinge of pain in her arm reminded her that the bones were still healing. It had only been 2 days since she'd woken up in hospital, still healing from a hard fight with a demon and a descendant of the Dark Lord who had been intent on performing some kind of dark magic ritual.